we do anything to fill up the jury's time for the next 10 minutes and then we can do this?
Not without what we discussed in sidebar.
Come on up for a minute, okay? Both of you, come on up quickly.
That was a false start.
Yeah.
Just burning out the jury's patience every turn.
I'm told that we're still on track.
We're still
We will start. I'm going to have you show up a half hour later than we normally do because I expect to have 10 minutes with the lawyers, but we see sometimes with 10 minutes naturally in the course of any case can turn into. So I don't want you to be waiting as much as you've waited today. So if you've taken half an hour more to get in here, whatever time we normally meet, the court officers will tell you. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be a full day, and we will make every effort that it's filled with as much time here in court for you without sidebar conferences, without delays for us to have hearings. So tomorrow, plan on a full day. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. Be careful again with your social media use, and we'll see you tomorrow. So Dr. Lapasati,
Yes.
you can step right up, you just follow the jury, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. If you will be here, make sure you're ready to go at 9.
I'll be here. Thank you, Your Honor.
Just on a side note, I'm seriously concerned about this woman's ability to breathe. I don't know what is happening, like whether it's
Yeah.
anxiety, but it is
No, I don't think it's anxiety. I knew someone who sounded just like that. I don't want to say what I think it is because it's just a guess, but it's a serious issue.
All right, so can you argue the Commonwealth's motion that I received this morning regarding Dr. Renshaw? Can we just do that now? Okay. No, that's fine. So we'll do that first thing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The basis of the Commonwealth's, I've read the motion. I think the motion is clear. I'll hear you both tomorrow on it. All right. And you'll take care of the photographs, whatever photographs in her report you intend to put in.
Is the court hasn't made an order yet, but it seemed like the court was leaning toward not allowing any text on the photographs.
So that was just at a quick review. I had not I just read the content, the text part for the arguments for today, the arguments that were brought up today. I wasn't anticipating everything that we heard today on this, so it took a while. I did not get to look at specifically those. But to the extent that it's hearsay, whether it considers anything about dogs, clearly the dog, things that have been excluded have to come out of the photographs. All right.
The other photos deal with Patrick because
I think those have been shown, and I know the Wisniewski spots one is in evidence. The brain photographs are not coming in. The brain photographs that are different than what's already, the brain photographs in her report.
understood.
They're-
My biggest issue is the stomach lining is a bigger issue, and then some photographs in like the car that's probably already in, things of that nature.
So tell me what you think is more of an issue, more of what you want. So I don't think the photographs on pages 4 or 5 come in. They don't add anything, and they are extremely inflammatory.
I'm not looking to enter the, I'm not looking to get those.
All right, the photos on page 6, I believe, are already in evidence. So this is,
That's a Lucas machine,
right, just a textbook photo of a Lucas machine?
correct?
Is there an objection to that, Mr. Brennan?
No, thank you.
Okay. So do you want all of that in, or just the photograph that's got color to it?
I'd actually like all of it in. She will explain what effect it has on the pancreas and stomach lining. It's intended to reduce the spots for lack thereof.
Okay.
Page 14, I think these are all in evidence otherwise, but I would like this particular, it's all in one spot.
Hold on one second. Okay, so one is in. Point number one, that was in evidence, and those two photographs, this is all for number one. What was,
These are all close-ups of the same photo that is already in evidence.
okay,
The right sleeve. So I'd like to use this because it speaks to her evaluation of these particular.
all right, how does she know it's blood staining on the fabric around the puncture? I'm just curious.
The blood stain on fabric around the puncture.
Yes.
I'm assuming she's getting that from the lab. They tested it.
Okay, I don't recall testimony regarding, doesn't mean it didn't happen, I just don't recall it, so I just need to know
Super worried about that.
the source, all right?
Pull that out.
I have no objections to the photos, I do have an objection to the captions that go with the photos.
Okay. 13A and 13B?
Yes.
Yep, so 13B's out because of the dog bite.
For obvious reasons.
Let me see. All right. So if we keep out the blood staining, Mr. Brennan, is there an objection? Oh, puncture. What's the objection for the Commonwealth on 13A?
The opinion outward tearing, the opinion blood staining.
I have no issue with blood stain coming out. Outward tearing that is her opinion of what it looks like.
Okay, so we're going to have to see if she's qualified to do that, to testify to that. All right. What's the next page?
Page figure 3 in the report.
What page?
I don't have page number, Judge. Hold it up.
Page 5.
Page 5. It shows the cross-section of the brainstem.
That's what I was saying. I didn't see how that was coming in.
I certainly don't want the one in that is sculpted. Highly graphic. This is no more graphic than the supplement.
I disagree, but why does she have to use this photograph?
In furtherance of her determination of the constitutional injury, it supports that. I didn't put it in during that conversation.
Okay.
But
There's no contention that coup contra coup is the cause of the brain injury, correct?
there is contention that the coup contra coup was, yes, that is the contention. I don't think there's any controversy. That's what the,
I thought that's what Dr. Wolf testified to, no?
Consistent, I don't think there's any disagreement.
Right. So I don't know why we need this photograph.
because this shows, at least for her, this shows a bleeding of the brainstem, which talks about whether or not he's immediately incapacitated or not immediately incapacitated. which is
Okay.
an issue that Dr.
No, I understand that's an issue. Okay,
That is an issue.
yeah. Okay. What else, Mr. Jackson?
I think you've seen this, Your Honor, and I'm looking at figure 5. So there's new spots.
Yeah, I think that's already in evidence, isn't it?
It is, but not the, Mr. Leslie's saying it's only a chalk at this point, is that right?
I recall it was up, and I usually don't put up chalks, but okay. Excuse me?
Mr. Lessie. Can you say it again? Thanks.
There's only one person who can talk at a time. I'm told it's Exhibit 164.
Yes, Your Honor, and my understanding is it's marked as an exhibit only. It was used as a chart, but not in evidence.
Okay, so if it's marked as an exhibit, it means it's in evidence.
Sorry, marked for identification.
I'm told I think it's an exhibit. We can find out. If it's an exhibit, everybody's fine with it. It's in. 164, I think. We'll know. Okay, what are those? All right, so we'll have to see what's in and what's not. I'm just trying to make the best use of the time here.
The next is figure 9A and B. Just attended to, these two photographs are attended to the Lucas machine.
So you're saying 9 in evidence or 9 on the form?
Report. Dr. Lopez' report.
9A and B.
9A and B.
Is there an objection to these, Mr. Brennan? Going to the Lucas compression device? There's one on someone who's not John O'Keefe, and then this is on Mr. O'Keefe.
No objection.
Okay, so those will come in.
That's it.
Okay. All right. How much longer, and I'm not curbing you in any way, how much longer do you think? It seems like after the very lengthy qualifications, we're now moving along quicker with Dr. Lapasada.
I would guess I probably, I'm going to finish under an hour.
Okay. Any idea, Mr. Brennan?
I guess it'll probably be about a half hour.
Okay. So we should finish with Dr. Lapasada's testimony either by the morning break or shortly thereafter. So we'll discuss Dr. Rentschler's testimony, the objections to it. Why don't you just tell me briefly, Mr. Brennan, what the objections are?
There are a number of slides that attempt to frame what the contested issues are in the case. It's improper opinions, it assumes facts, not evidence, and it improperly summarizes the Commonwealth position. There are a number of slides that provide credibility determinations about Dr. Welcher, and there are a number of slides that summarize opinions by this expert. So the improper summaries, the credibility determinations, trying to frame issues for the jury, none of that should be admissible as part of the PowerPoint. So we've articulated each slide and what our objections are to each slide that we have any objections to. There's quite a few.
All right, so I'll look through that tonight, but the same restrictions will be, you don't criticize the person, it's the data, what you saw, what you didn't see. So if it's different than that in the slides, it's going to have to come out.
Understood. I'll take a close look at it. I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, no, I understand. I haven't read it either.
If we're done.
Okay,
4 documents. These are documents that are attended to Dr. Lapasada's opinion and conclusions concerning the dog bites.
okay, so,
I'd like to have those identified for the record.
yes.
Part of the record.
So we'll make that part of the record. I need a clean copy of Dr. Lapasada's report and her resume for the same purpose.
And the resume.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll have those 2 by now.
Okay,
Just finally, the redacted version of the 3430 post is not marked. Could I have that marked as an exhibit now?
okay. There was no objection, Mr. Brennan?
This was never marked as an exhibit. That's all.
No,
What?
no objection.
Why don't we do that right now?
Thank you.
Exhibit 224.
So I would like us to be as efficient for these jurors as possible tomorrow. I'm not suggesting that today was a waste of time. Everything we did was important, but it's very difficult for the jurors to spend so much time back there. It seems that they're just about ready to get this case, and everything that we hear now is very important. So I don't think anybody wants the jurors to tune out at this point. So let's try and keep things moving along. Mr. Jackson, how long do you expect to be with Dr. Rentschler?
Hour and a half. 2 hours. I'm being corrected. 3 hours. 4. She has a better pace than I do. I don't watch my watch run directly, but maybe it's going to be a whole thing. I mean, between us and cross-examination.
All right. So I told you all the other day, I thought I might be in a position to regret giving you last Thursday off, and that's where we're at. So let's be as efficient as we can possibly be.
Promise you we are. It's a murder trial, Judge. We're doing
I understand. All right,
I have one more item, when Your Honor.
okay. So, Mr. Jackson, do you expect that Dr. Rentschler will be the last witness that you call?
That's my expectation.
Okay. On rebuttal, any idea how long that will be, Mr. Brennan?
I'd like to keep it to 2 hours.
Okay. All right, that would be for everything, including Dr.
I'm sorry,
Dr. Welcher?
Dr. Welcher, and then the DNA, all those witnesses. I think it should be done in less than an hour.
All right, so will Dr. Welcher be called after the DNA people?
Trying to schedule that. I expect to call him last, but it all depends on when we can get the DNA people. And Dr. Welch will be here tomorrow or tonight, so he'll be here. So whoever's, if they're available, I'd like to get the DNA people in first. But we haven't had confirmation on the flight.
All right, because I told Mr. Lessie that he could excuse himself from this testimony if there were other witnesses first, so that he can prepare once he gets the discovery from Dr. Welcher.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could we understand from the Commonwealth the names of the rebuttal witnesses we're talking about?
They were in the motion, right?
Well, we heard some different things at some point. If something happened with Dr. Lapazzato that were going to be different. We heard that at side.
Oh, okay, so the motion that I allowed was Ms. Kuhn. I believe Dr. Gillespie's name was in there,
Hartnett?
and Ms. Hartnett. Okay.
So that's the exception. Those plus Dr. Welcher are the scope of the rebuttal witnesses for the Commonwealth.
Yes, I allowed the motion. Mr. Brennan says he's not calling Dr. Gillespie. Mr. Gillespie, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And nor Dr. Crosby.
Or Dr. Crosby. Right.
That's what
Yeah.
I think there's.
Sorry, I know.
Well, it's important to know.
You're not calling their dog expert or your own, correct?
Not calling Dr. Crosby.
Okay.
The other item, Your Honor, we want to alert you to, we will come tomorrow with a suggestion with regard to the curative instruction that was given to the court today. We're going to come tomorrow with, and ask to be heard on that further. And so we're going to come in with that. What happened, what was discussed before, I'm not so sure.
You asked me to change it, was my recollection, Mr. Lessie.
We looked at it at lunch, Your Honor, and appreciate the opportunity to confer with you on it. Didn't want to keep the staff later today, but.
And I don't want to keep the jury waiting, so file something with me and I'll take a look at it. All right. All right, so that's it. We expect to be ready to go when the jury's here tomorrow morning, probably no later than 9:15, 9:20, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll use a full day, as much of it as we can.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
All right, so it looks like that's it for the day.
Why isn't he calling Crosby? Was he able to limit Dr. Le Posada enough? I
Yeah,
didn't know.
she's not allowed to testify on any dog bite stuff. So at this point, I mean, I think to be fair, rather than continue to breathe life into this issue and, continue to confuse it, because it's a very niche, I'm going to call it a pseudoscience, no offense to anyone, but it's a niche pseudoscience, what is that? I can't even say the word, but not really admissible in courts all the time. It's silly. It's a silly argument. And I think that the dog DNA, or the lack thereof rather, is probably enough to refute it. Especially because they're only contending with Dr. Russell now. They're not having the medical examiner corroborate that. So they limited her quite a bit. Yeah.
So with the glitch, I'm sorry, I missed that a bit. What are they allowing? Because it sounds like they're going to allow her to say that he was beat up. He even got that in at the last minute. Did you hear him lead the witness? So could be from a fist? Yes.
Yeah, she did nix out excuse me, strikes to the eyes. She did cover the ecchymosis, but when when pressed on the small cut above the eye, he was leading her there for sure. I don't know how far she'll be able to go with it. I don't know. I mean, she herself said that the black eyes weren't from a fight. The medical examiners said there's no signs of fight. I don't see them gaining much ground.
Yeah, I
Probably
heard.
annoying the jury.
I was just wondering what specifically the judge ruled. That's the piece that I missed that you all probably saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she can't testify anything about dog bites. She can't testify anything about, being attacked in the garage and moved, because she wanted to testify that he was attacked in the garage and moved.
Mm.
So instead she's going to play these suggestibility games. Look, that head injury had to have come from a ledge surface, even though they've heard differently from the neurosurgeon. And the liver, not the liver spots, but the spots in the pancreas, the Wisniewski spots, sounds like that's coming in. But I think she's pretty much just going to, offer her version of alternate diagnoses. And that's about
Pretty
it.
much.
Yeah.
I see. Thanks for that recap.
The big win I saw is she can't speak about the dog bites. So
I don't know, Margaret, what do you think that she has added so far? I know it's kind of early in testimony. They haven't really got into many of her opinions yet, but
anxiety.
Well, I don't think she's added much at all yet, but
Oh.
if she can't talk about the dog bites, I don't think that ultimately she's going to add that much. I mean, it looks like Brennan is going to rely on what he promised the jury in his opening statements, to rely on the science and the data and, Dr. Welcher. And so the DNA will be interesting, but I was just shocked that he's not bringing in his own dog bite expert, but he probably thought he did a decent job in the cross-examination of Dr. Russell to discredit her. So,
Margaret, I agree with you. I really do. I thought he was going to bring in a dog bite expert to refute, but at the end of the day, I think all of us agree, no canine DNA equals no dog bite.
that's what I think, and that's what I've thought all along on this. And Brennan maybe he doesn't want to distract the jury towards the end of the case of, his main point is he again, the science and the data, and the dog bite is a big distraction out there. It's a red herring, really. My thoughts.
right. I think it makes sense. I think it's like, as it stands right now, you have one kind of kooky woman who can't really lay out very clear methodology or explanation as to why their dog bites, and that's it, right? And then you look at the DNA. It's very hard to explain away the absence of dog DNA. She couldn't do it, right? You really can't do it. And so why continue to make it a conversation by bringing? And at the end of the day, it's very subjective, because there's no recognized standards to what is or is not a dog bite just from looking at it. This is not a recognized study or anything. Like, there's no commonly accepted methodology. Everybody is just kind of making it up. They're saying, well, I recognize patterns, and that's about it. And you can argue patterns forever, right? And at what point does it just wash itself out anyway?
Right. I agree. And the jury's going to use its common sense. There may be a debate over that in the deliberation room. This trial, there's been so much. Did you guys discuss earlier when I wasn't here, did you guys discuss the motion for mistrial?
Yeah.
The scary Mason? Of course.
I
did.
Oh,
I was
God.
triggered.
Right? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for Hank Brennan. It was a mistake.
Everybody.
I mean, he did not do that purposefully.
Oh, for that misstep? Yeah.
These things happen, though, right? That's what I mean. Obviously, her team on some level knew that it was an insane ask for a mistrial with prejudice again, because they had a less insane alternative already prepared, right? Which is ultimately the obvious one, which is either a stipulation or a curative instruction, right? Obviously. But he still went and argued it anyway. It's not for the judge. It's not for the court. It's not for a dismissal.
No.
It's literally just for the cameras.
It's for the media and the internet. Oh yeah.
I thought Hank handled it the best way that anyone would. He took full, responsibility. He made a mistake. It wasn't done out of malice, and they moved on. But we will always have Alessi flipping out. That's
Oh
forever now. Like,
yeah.
you know,
Did you see the look he gave the jurors as he held that shirt up? Did you see the expression on his
yes,
face? It was
yeah,
a real expression of, you know, almost like hatred. They're really
yeah.
duping us. They're trying to
It
dupe
was
you.
it was his big moment, right? Like it was very performative. He was playing to the cameras. Yeah, it was totally self-serving, ridiculous.
My favorite part of the whole thing is when he's like, and I will move on to this. Your Honor, why is this happening?
Yeah, right.
You sound like a kid. Literally sounds like a teenager or something, being like,
He
it's so unfair. Why? Like, oh my Lord in heaven. It's essentially the equivalent. I consider that a wash anyway, because they had the whole snafu with the misidentification of Proctor at the morgue, right?
Hmm.
And they just cleaned that up in the morning, stipulated to it, no big deal. It happens. I mean, that one is a little bit more confusing to me because remembering what hole came from where with all that information, data, all those witnesses might slip your mind. It obviously didn't, it wasn't readily apparent to the defense either. They didn't object, they only found it on break. Misidentifying a whole human being is like a whole nother realm of things. But either way, this is essentially the same thing. So they each got one, whatever. I mean, Brennan didn't get a curative instruction over the morgue, did he? I thought they just got a stipulation. So,
Right.
I don't think he
Margaret,
did.
did you catch the quip by Hank to Wolf, where he said you can't delete something under oath? That was a sharp little prod to Wolf there. I can't remember exactly what he was referring to. I don't know if you do, Kate, but it was quite the quip from Brennan. You can't delete something under oath.
Yeah,
that was good.
his crosses are always so good. He's just so quick on his feet. I mean, I love them. You know, I listen. I can't even repeat some of this stuff now, but I just sit there and I listen, and it just he's able to really this. You know, the witness says something, he's able to respond, and sometimes it's really funny.
Mhm.
You know, like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 and then this and that. I mean, he's the Perry Mason. I mean, he's
Big time. He's like
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao on Cross. He's just a counterpuncher, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
it is his comfort zone.
I
Right.
know,
So
and it's very hard to do.
yes.
He's a really good listener, and he did that in the Whitey trial too.
What did you think about the investigator introducing the measurements from the door to the driveway?
I mean, did it? I'm trying to think like a juror now. I don't think it adds that much to the case. I don't. I mean, what do you think the jury will make out of it?
I just think it's arbitrary, and it's sort of like, I understand what they're trying to suggest, and I'm sure that the jury will too. However, I feel like that is kind of undercut by Karen saying that he was found in roughly the last place that she left him, and then she takes it a step further and qualifies that as the left side of the property.
Yeah.
Which is the complete diametric opposite of the garage, which is on the right side of the property. That's actually like a landmark that would differentiate the two. So that's a little confusing.
It
for
is,
me.
it is confusing, and I'm sure Hank will bring that up. And also, don't forget, in one of her media clips, she said she watched him go into the house. So, I mean, it's
Right.
all over.
Well, she's actually had 3 versions now. The first
right.
one, the first version, she saw him skip up to the front door, and she looked down at her phone, and then he was gone. Then the second one, he went to the side door and she saw him poke his head, open the door and poke his head in. She looked down at her phone, and then he was gone. Then the third version was recently outside of court when she full on committed and said, yes, I saw him go into the house. Because prior to that, she would never fully place him in the house. She would get him right to the threshold and then go, well, then I don't know what happened. Like he just evaporated or
Right.
something.
I
She
see.
had-
She's had so
yeah.
many versions. I can't even
Yeah,
keep them straight. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, it'd be interesting if Hank would be able to play what she said in the courtroom steps recently.
Oh,
Right.
which one? Because it's every day.
Well, the
She's
one I know, no, the one where she said she watched him go into the house, and that's just
Oh,
yeah,
when she definitively said it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it would look good if she played all, if he played, whoops, sorry, if he played all three
I know.
back to back to back, all
And
three.
that shows, you know, I think that shows consciousness of guilt, really, in a in a subtle way. I mean, she is changing her story.
so not to but I think a lot of people are confused why certain clips haven't been being played, and I was asking myself that too, because I'm not a lawyer. So I was like, oh my god, I would throw everything at him. And then I kind of put this together, and Margaret, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because this is a little bit of a complicated legal theory that I've just encountered because of this case. Really, well, I guess I kind of knew about it before, but the rule of completeness, right? So Hank has seen all of that uncut video, and we haven't. We know what has made it to the floor or made it into court. I would assume that he's probably selecting clips that are incriminating but don't, within that context, contain any self-serving statements, right? Because otherwise then the defense, I guess in theory, could come back and say, well, rule of completeness, we can play more of this clip and include those self-serving statements, right?
Right.
Okay. Versus if he's really constricted with it, they can't just bring their own clips in, right? Because they can't bring in self-serving statements. So she would have to testify to refute it at all, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah. I don't think she's going to testify.
No, I know, but I guess my
No,
point
right,
being is
right.
that he's
Yeah.
probably restricted the use of clips to clips where
Yeah.
they can't use the rule of completeness to then sneak in self-serving statements and
Capitalize
really,
on it. Yeah.
Right.
I think so. I think,
Get that.
and, you know, again, he's thought about it, Hank has, and strategized. So he's chosen certain ones that he can argue to the jury about and get his point across.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's had to be careful about what he, you know, picking and choosing the right ones. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. So, and he's picked some good ones, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. His opening statement.
Oh.
That was a great one. That was a great one. She's basically describing what she did. Okay.
You know, and I'm still, so in Jackson's opening statement, Jackson said that somebody would put John O'Keefe inside. He had a witness that would put John O'Keefe inside the house. Is he talking about Whiffen?
Right.
Okay. He must be right.
know.
He specifically said that because I did a short video going over how horrible Arca is for her defense, whether or not people want to admit it or not. I mean, that's going to be one of the biggest court blunders I've ever seen. Not that I watch a lot of trials, but that's blatant. And so I just went through his opening statement again, and he very explicitly says that they have forensic data, they have eyewitnesses, and they have physical evidence that places him inside that house.
You know, I mean, the only thing I can think of is they talking about Whiffen, you know, that little, his outer circle there, but eyewitnesses, there are no, he specifically, I'll have to go look at it
He
again.
said specific. Do you want me to hold on? I think I actually might have it. If you can bear with me, I think I might actually have it clipped.
Because that's one of the things lawyers know
Yeah.
not to do is you can't overpromise in your opening statement. It's a huge thing. So
Well,
I
I
would
wonder
imagine.
if he was considering that he could put Karen on, or might put Karen on if he was falling back on that. He'll fall back on that. I agree with you.
yeah,
Can't promise, you promise low and over deliver. Never promise high and under deliver.
and they never want to promise something like possibly that involves putting the defendant on, or an instance where the jury is thinking, okay, well, he promised this, and that means she is probably going to testify. That wouldn't be good at all. That's
Mhm.
you can't. She has the right not to take that stand. Against.
Yeah,
So
I
I
don't.
think that
I
he
think
like wanted to say that Ryan Nagel is the eyewitness. Like I think that's what he's alluding to. I think that's what his plan was all along, to say that those are the eyewitnesses because he wasn't in the car, you know.
that
Not
is,
honest.
yeah, that's a possibility. But Ryan Nagel doesn't. Ryan Nagel has never done it for me, because if you're driving by, you're looking ahead. He could have looked over. O'Keefe could have been in the car, as Hank suggested today, and just bending down to grab something, or he could have been right outside the car at that point.
Mhm.
And because that was right before the whole, text stream event occurred.
Right. Not seeing something is not evidence that something is not there. It's
know.
magical thinking. And the defense and the Free Karen Read, I guess, movement, want to call it that, that's what they're based on, cartoonish and magical thinking.
Yep, just like Brian Laughlin, not
Mhm.
seeing something. That makes the testimony more unreliable when you say
Mhm.
you didn't see something.
By the way,
Exactly.
Matt and Kate, me having my glasses on and looking at your little caricatures are killing me right now.
They're not
Brutal.
haunting you, are they? Yeah, they're
They're
kind of
The
scary.
only one with it.
especially Matt. I don't know. Kate's is
Yeah,
better
yeah.
too.
Well,
It's pretty
I'm
cool.
the real person.
I know you look great. I'm just concentrating on you. When
Now
Matt,
if I stand
I
up,
have to keep an
I've got
avatar to
my
run the
chin.
Karen cam. And so the only avatar I could do was the Hannibal Lecter one. All right, so I had to search transcripts, but I found the part.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So.
And if I'm doing this, it
That
means
John got out of the SUV and went into the house.
ugh,
Let me say that again. The facts unequivocally, the data, the science, the witnesses will all unequivocally establish that John O'Keefe went into the Albert home that night. Eyewitnesses and forensic data will establish that fact. When he didn't come back out, you'll learn that Karen grew increasingly frustrated. She got upset. She was left alone in a car, in the cold, in the middle of the night, with the car idling.
that's crazy.
So right there, he says eyewitness. Yeah.
He said
sure did.
eyewitness, and he talked about Karen getting increasingly upset, as if she's waiting there, but she didn't testify to that.
and unequivocally. He not only went in, he
Oh my
unequivocally.
Right.
I hope it's been a long trial, but you're really not supposed to do that as a lawyer. That would be,
That'd be
that's
crazy.
really going overboard.
Yeah. But I mean, Alessi's part of their team. Crazy's on the table.
That's
Look at their defendant. It's a complete.
yeah, no, I
universe
know,
of
but
crazy.
that's unheard
Yeah.
of to take it that far as a lawyer, I think.
Yeah.
Jeez. Thank you for
You think
playing that
he's-
clip.
No problem. I just happened to, it stuck out in my mind anyway.
Yeah.
But I just happened to be going through it last night and was like, yeah, he really did say that he had eyewitnesses and data and forensics that would place him in that house. They have nothing. They've presented nothing. They're closing their case with Rentschler. Okay. We learned that today.
Yes.
They have presented nothing even close to any of that.
They got zero.
Yeah, I still can't believe the testimony of the guy that took the measurements. I mean, that's
Oh
kind
man.
of
Yeah.
if they're not gonna follow up with anything.
I know. I mean, Hank just had to point out the obvious. Well, then to put the body on the lawn and everything, it would have to come back out there. You have to account for the, that movement. There's no talk of that. You're just gonna, like, again, walk it all the way out. The defense doesn't do that. They just put out an assertion. They don't even think anyone's gonna, do a thought experiment on it, let alone, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous, dude.
And the
Yeah, they
phone
just
the phone never went inside the house.
No.
I mean, forensics. I mean, I don't know what he's talking about there, because the data, that none of the data shows him inside the house at all, except for Whiffin's little circle.
Yeah. What was that? 3 seconds?
Yeah, I've got it. You know what? I'm going to go back to that and again play the tape myself, just
Right.
because people are saying, well, people are trying to argue with me that, well, Bluefin puts them in the house, and I know it's like only
Yeah.
2 or 3
For
seconds.
for a Benny Hill fight up and down the stairs, and it's not happening, man. It's not
No,
happening. Again, cartoonish, magical thinking. It's weirdo behavior like that.
I mean, it's true, but like all they need is one juror that's
I
low
know.
IQ enough to sit on that jury and repeat. He unequivocally shows you when inside the house. Just repeat those statements. That's what people online do all day long. And so they just need one dummy and
Yeah,
mistrial.
true that. True that.
I had a comment today on my Facebook page from actually an old friend that turned FKR. She's like, you've been writing too many fictional novels.
Oh no.
Meaning,
Is that your
making all this
problem?
stuff up.
Wow.
I just
And I
don't
did,
understand.
and I did say, well, I also wrote a nonfiction too, and a big
Mhm.
I
smiling
just don't.
face.
I don't get it. I mean, this is like, I mean, a masterclass in just mass gaslighting. There is nothing here at this point. Whether or not you want to feel like there's reasonable doubt, I suppose at the end of the day, even arguing that with people is a fool's errand. Although I am certainly guilty of such, because it is sort of it's a personal standard to some level. Like, I really like to think that the operative word is reasonable, but apparently not for everybody. Fine. But
Right.
in no world is there anything to suggest at this point that this woman was somehow unjustly or falsely arrested, or that there is absolutely nothing to connect her to this crime or arouse suspicion in any way that would merit a criminal trial. Like, far from that. Like, everything put together is like way above probable cause.
I know.
Way above probable cause. Even if you don't think it's beyond a reasonable doubt, it has certainly risen above the level of probable cause. This whole thing
Right.
is crazy.
Yeah, and I
You'd
respect someone who makes an opposite argument. Okay, you can disagree with me, but explain why. Even if they use the whiffin thing,
Right.
that's fine. But geez, come on.
You'd think that
Wrap it up.
there'd be at least a chunk of them that would say, okay, I know it looks bad, but you're right. They don't even entertain that. It's not, no, she couldn't have done that. Yes, he ran in the house for 3 seconds and this all happened. And they teleported because of the distance from the house back to the lawn. He teleported, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But
oh
his
God,
phone stayed right under his body the entire time.
that's
It's
right.
just
Yeah.
everything that converges
too
on
much.
itself, from her own statements to the physical evidence at the scene, to the data in her car, to the injuries that he sustained, the damage to her vehicle. Like, it all, I mean, honestly, in most cases for a hit and run, if your taillight is found around that decedent, that's a wrap. That's usually enough for people to get convicted. Let's be real, okay? If that goes in front
Right.
of any jury and they match it up, I mean, honestly, in most, I think, hit and run cases, that putting it back together like a jigsaw puzzle, that's a wrap, my guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Mhm.
To be a
Absolutely.
wealthy, privileged woman with a rabid internet, following, I guess. I just, justice doesn't work this way for everybody. I just want to point that out for the 100th
Oh,
time.
and
This
speaking about all that, when the case first broke, way back with Turtle Boy and all that stuff, remember the biggest thing was Haslong to die in the cold, and they're not even calling Richard
No.
Green, which they shouldn't. But
Yep.
think about that has gone away. That has been proven absolutely wrong. So that huge conspiracy theory with the Google search has gone poof.
I'm pretty sure that they promised that. I think he talked about that in his opening statement too.
I've got to re-listen to that tonight.
Hold on, I'm gonna go
We
through
talked
the
about that.
transcript. You guys can talk, and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
search this transcript real quick.
Because the whole thing, remember when Aiden Kearney went to the lacrosse field? How long does it take to die in the cold, Jen? That was the central part of that whole intimidation.
Yeah.
Hey,
Massive harassment campaign for it.
Speaking of the blogger, Did you hear that the blogger lost his motion to quash the subpoena and he will have to miss trial on Wednesday? He's going to have to go to the blogger's trial if it's still going on.
Well, that'll be interesting.
That is just so wrong. No, my
Right.
point is it's so
Oh,
wrong.
so Paul O'Keefe. Wait, are you
Who
talking
did I
about?
say? Who did I say?
You
Yeah.
said the blogger.
You said
I thought
blogger.
you meant Aiden Kearney had to miss court, but yeah, Paul O'Keefe has to go to that's wrong.
Has to miss his brother's murder
Brothers,
trial
yeah.
on Wednesday
That's
to attend Aiden Carney. Sorry if I said that wrong.
oh no, I'm sorry. I probably misheard it because I was thinking about the whole thing. But yeah, that's what a shame.
It's just so vindictive, I
It
think.
is.
It's so unnecessary. I read that whole motion. I'm really surprised.
I'm really
True to
surprised
form.
too.
True to form, though. I mean, he is that petty. He is that vindictive. So, not surprising he'd make a move like that.
Is that I wish that was going to be televised. The blogger's trial.
Well, I think Grant is, I want to say Grant is he streaming it somehow? Let me look.
What?
I mean, not that
He wanted to.
he needs more publicity, Aiden, the blogger, not that he needs more publicity, but I would like to see it from a legal perspective because of the First Amendment. I think First Amendment issues are always very interesting. I mean, so to me, that's fascinating.
But this trial is not.
This is
The
about
Graham
parole.
Paul-
Yeah.
Okay, so he picked a bench trial, right?
Not a parole.
So no longer is he trying to appeal to a jury. A lot of this extra stuff is like jury stuff, right? So what he wants to allege is that that Paul and myself and Jennifer McCabe and the victim in that case all conspired together to get him arrested for violating a restraining order because she showed up to court with the O'Keefe family and he had to leave, right? So the thing is that the crime is not him being in the courtroom, right? So that's not even in controversy. The crime is that he was told to leave. He went across the street to the registry of deeds. He waited outside and then he followed the protected party and her group as they walked to their cars, photographing them. And by doing so was in the exclusion zone. So Paul O'Keefe has nothing to offer with that.
Right.
It doesn't matter who invited this girl, why she showed up, what the intentions were, which were certainly not to get him arrested. I can assure you that. It's a question of, was he in the exclusion zone? Was he notified and made aware that she was there? Because then it's his responsibility to leave. And the answer is yes, he was notified. He got halfway out and then he hung around until she crossed his path again. That's the violation. So it's just really, and it's a bench trial. So like, I mean, yeah, the judge isn't going to be distracted by all. He wants to smear this girl's character. He wants to accuse her of being a quote unquote restraining order abuser or something, that she's, taking advantage of restraining orders. Was, in my opinion, she is not. But regardless, even if somebody were to do that, it doesn't change the violation, right? That's an argument for getting the restraining order dropped, which, although I do not agree with it, he got the restraining order dropped. Okay, that's where that argument works, not on this violation where he had ample opportunity to leave.
Right.
This is just a misdemeanor, Margaret.
Okay, you know what? I have
Gatani.
I can't seem to keep. It's hard enough to keep up on this trial, yet let alone Aiden Kearney's stuff. So yeah, thank you. I did not realize. So he's got some more stuff coming up later then.
Yes.
That's the big stuff. I think that'll be in about December-ish.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, the accountability Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
Filmed himself in the bushes outside of court, screaming obscenities about his ex-girlfriend, then followed her to a car while filming. Then proceeded to publish a harassing. I mean, not that just so that we're all on the same page here. Hold on. Let me show you. Let me show you what we're talking about here as far as like how, yeah.
And other people might be confused as well who are watching, because people are keeping up on this trial yeah, and then everything else is going on the side. It's like a little side distraction.
It's
this is
another
just,
tent in the same
it's a
circus.
silly argument. It's a silly, like, it's a silly defense. It's like the fact that this is a bench trial blows my mind because, you know, judges tend to, like, you have a better chance with a jury than a judge on something that's technical, I think,
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, definitely.
And so this whole thing, this restraining order violation is alleged to have occurred on February 27th. Okay. So what's the date on this blog? Canton Cover Up Part 299. McAlbert's used fake domestic violence victim. I really don't like throwing her name out there. She doesn't want the attention. As human shield to evict award-winning journalist from Karen Reed hearing. And what do we have here? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ow, sorry. Don't eat my bracelet. Thank you. 8, 9. How many pictures of her entering and leaving court that day? 10. This is published by him on the same day. 11.
Yeah.
12. There she is again. 13.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so I mean, like, this is a no-brainer at this point. He literally documented himself breaking this restraining order. Then he added another picture of her at a pool just for good measure. 14 pictures. 14 pictures of her entering and exiting court. Now, he's also, because of the way that I'm going to take this down now. The way that his the way the court's been going for these people, the group that she was in, which included a lot of the, you know, McCabe's out, you know, family of the O'Keefes, everybody, some of them were filming as they were leaving because they kind of have to, right? You know, to document really the abuse that they're taking. So there is video of Aiden Carney walking with them from across the street, getting as close as, I think, 48 feet, kind of in the tree line there in the bushes on that grassy area with the Registry of Deeds, with his phone out filming them.
Jeez.
So he's got the video and the pictures that he took of this woman entering and exiting court, or at least exiting court. I think he might have not. Maybe he got the entering from someone else. And then there's the video that they have of him taking those pictures. It's like, there's no way out of that one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
He's trying to, his defense is some sort of askew entrapment defense, that he was entrapped to go there in the first place. Do you want to comment on that, Margaret? Using an entrapment offense for getting him there in the first place. That's why he has, if you're wondering why he's calling Paul O'Keefe, right. But the fact that this judge did not quash that subpoena has me a bit concerned, and asking for a bench trial.
Yeah, I wonder if they did a little bit of judge shopping there. I don't know.
They have Pomerol.
I'm not familiar with that particular judge, but okay. I wonder, and because I'm surprised that the judge didn't quash Paul O'Keefe's motion, or
Well, you know what they threw in that motion, though, that he was with her that day. So I think that if it was just this insane paranoid rambling of entrapment, they set me up, that probably would have gone nowhere. I think that probably the nexus they drew is that he was with her that day. But I mean, he was with her in a crowd of, like, he wasn't like with her. It's not like they walked in arm in arm skipping together. They were in a large group of people. There were a lot of people there that day. But I would assume that, you know, they're going to quash, you know, not quash the, you know, unfortunately getting called. He just doesn't have a lot to offer, really.
Nothing. What on earth would he have to offer?
And there's no way that his texts are coming in, because that's crazy too. That's just a way that Aiden Carney's trying to, you know, invade this guy's privacy for the 45th time and embarrass him.
Yep. It's awful what they've done to the O'Keefe family. Just horrible.
And it never ends.
No.
The gift just keeps on giving. When I saw that he was under subpoena, and then I read the motion to quash, I just thought this would be a no-brainer, but no, it's not a no-brainer. He's going to have to miss trial on Wednesday. I'm sure he's sick about it.
I don't think they'll have a lot of time with him, to be fair, because he literally has nothing to offer at all.
So maybe he'll get to go first, then go be in and out.
That would be a kind thing to do.
That's possible.
It's possible. People are brought out of order all the time. The neurosurgeon is a good example in this trial. They brought him in out of order because of his scheduling. He had to go save lives.
Yes. Yeah.
So I did find this part of the of this as well. So hold on.
Forensic software program called Physical Analyzer made by Cellebrite. It's considered the gold standard for forensic tools. You'll learn that a Google search was discovered on Jennifer McCabe's phone. A Google search that Michael Proctor and his investigators never revealed to us. But we found anyway. A Google search that was time-stamped, according to their own data, at 2:27 a.m. 5 minutes after that 2:22 a.m. call that Higgins and Albert denied having. And that Google search on Jennifer McCabe's phone read, Hoslong to die in cold. Hoslong to die in cold. Now she misspelled the first word. Hos is supposed to be how, but the meaning's the same. How long does it take to die in the cold? Time-stamped 2:27.
Well, he did cross-examine on this. He cross-examined, so he got all these points out via cross-examination.
Yeah. And where did they go?
I know, but yeah.
Where
So
everything
people always say that.
goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere, really.
They've conceded the point. They've conceded the point at this point. He
Yeah,
tried to bring that on
think-
cross-examination. It wasn't even cross-examination. I mean, Ian Whiffen testified extensively on direct to how this did not happen, and moreover, he demonstrated it live
Yeah.
for the jury. So they're not bringing anyone to dispute it.
I know.
That is essentially, whoops, we lied.
I know. They overpromised.
They're not even defending, or Karen's defense team is no longer defending some of the biggest cornerstones to that harassment campaign. The dog, 227. I mean, they're kind of still hanging on to the fight, but I mean, good Lord, like the dog and especially 227 were massive.
Huge.
To get people stoked for that. Yeah, absolutely. 227 probably on top of all of it. And they're not even fighting anymore. I mean,
the other side, well, I'm being neutral, but the online, that dog expert was really applauded.
oh, I mean, yeah, I've seen some examples of online thinking, and holy.
Oh, I know. But then, but then I think about, well, did the jury like her? Did the jury think that Hank was too tough on her? She was an older woman. She became frustrated quite often. And, did Hank overdo it with her? I mean, I feel like I might have a little bit of confirmation bias, right? I already don't, because I watched trial 1, she came across much better in trial 2 than she did in trial 1. So I'm just trying to think, like, what do you think the jurors will think of her? Any thoughts on that?
I think she looked incredible. I mean, and she was doing that weird placostomus mouth, like that. That's what, I don't know. It's pretty specific. It's one of them fish that sucks onto the side of your tank. She was doing that whole thing. I mean, they probably had enough of her 5 minutes in. Like, she didn't sound like she made sense. She's bizarre as hell. I don't know. I don't think she moved the needle.
Anybody? Oh, I don't think she moved the needle. But I keep trying to have to say to myself, well, I'm looking at it differently. Anybody else?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with Russell was her saying that she could not identify any of the marks in and of themselves as a bite mark. And the fact that she waffled back and forth between scratches versus bites. I brought up the analogy, and I thought it was a pretty decent one. If you see 22, a 40, a 45, buckshot, you know that. Well, I don't need to see any pattern. I don't need to see 5 gunshot wounds in a row to know. And if you truly are a bite and claw expert of dogs, because you've seen quote unquote thousands of them, you would not need to see multiple ones to discern that. Because really, look at what happened to Dan, right? He got one big bite.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And that's
Yeah.
discernible. And so that's the issue to me at the very crux of, that's what I would have lopped onto, would have been, but you can't tell if a bite is a bite or a scratch is a scratch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think Hank did well pointing out the ingredients to a common dog bite pattern, and John's arm possessing none of them. Right? There was no puncture. There was no avulsion. There was no laceration. It was even she agreed it was a abrasion. So I mean, for your pattern, for your dog bite pattern to have none of the elements, that kind of
Right.
throws it out right there.
Yeah, because the
I'm
dog
sure
would
this-
clamp on with its mouth and
Right.
really with both sides. Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
both sides. And again, like, how useless would this dog be, right? Because she was trying to say that, oh, they were attempts. There's like 6 dog bite attempts. The dog couldn't pull off one bite. You're kidding me. Like, what a useless dog, you know?
I know.
I mean, I don't know. That's, she just flopped. Complete
Yeah.
flop.
Because I know that Hank did go up to Vermont and he found the real Chloe, and then he had
Mhm.
his expert took impressions of Chloe's teeth and everything to show
Right.
that it didn't match. So he put a lot of work into that,
Yeah.
all of that. And it's so interesting that his dog person is not going on. I
No
found that,
kidding.
yeah, and I get his reasoning.
You know,
I
the
do.
Canoni wouldn't let that come in, though. You know,
Oh,
pre-trial
she did.
elections, they were
The impressions?
Yes, she would not let the impressions come in. That's one of her rulings. I got a handful that I just, I like Canoni, and as I've
Yeah.
said, there's a reason why both sides aren't necessarily happy. And this was one of the rulings saying those
Okay.
impressions couldn't come in.
With the impressions.
so,
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I forget. I missed that.
I think it's a
Okay.
big, I mean, more than anything else, and I think this is probably true for a lot of experts, that whether they're likable or not, likable is one thing. Even if they're personally credible, I think if your argument's not credible, how far is it really going to get? Like, right, if your opinion doesn't make any sense,
Right.
it doesn't matter who you are. And her opinion doesn't make any sense. She can't really testify to it with any specificity. It's pretty much destroyed by the lack of canine DNA. And it really doesn't change one. So what if he did get bit by a dog at this point? You can't put him in the house. There's clear signs of a collision. So I guess, maybe a coyote came by. We know that it didn't.
I always wondered if a raccoon came. I remember for the first trial, I was doing a podcast on it, and I had a homicide detective, and he said, "Boy, they look like raccoon."
Right.
You never
That's
know.
why everyone's going to have an opinion, because
Yeah.
you can't, I wish that one of these hacks would have to get up and just go through a photo array of similar looking injuries and, guess what the origins are, because if they're honest, they can't do that. They can't do that without any, because you're divorcing all of the context from these injuries, right? They're, as much as they want to say they relied on police reports, that they really are not in coming to that conclusion, because there is nothing that externally supports them being dog bites, right? Most of the time, dog bites are easily identified because the person tells you that they got bit by a dog,
Right.
Very rarely are people found mauled, by a dog and nobody has any idea what happened. And surely they always leave DNA. So, I mean, the whole thing is just, it's bunk. And I think that continuing to put it in controversy really does a disservice to how strong. I mean, I think that even her team sees the writing on the wall. I would not be surprised if their liberal use of Alessi and all these very dramatic, demands for mistrials, which I'm sure are beefed up for the cameras, but are also them in kind of working into their strategy an appeals plan, because
Yes.
I think that at least one person on that team has to see the writing on the wall at this point.
Yeah.
But to what end? Do you guys have an opinion on how probable it is that any appeal based off what we're seeing would gain any traction?
I don't think so. Anybody else?
No, but it's just, I
Well-
absolutely can see Karen being a pragmatic enough person
I'd
to
appeal.
Yeah, I mean, everybody appeals, right? Everybody appeals on a potential life
course.
sentence. I mean, if she gets the manslaughter and gets 15 years, even, I bet she appeals. But I think most people would definitely appeal on that M2. You would be a fool not to. Everybody exhausts their appeals. That's just sort of what you do. I just think that she's probably pragmatic enough to start planning for it. I'm sure to her it's just in case, but I mean, it's a
Right.
very distinct possibility that she is convicted on one of or all of her charges this time around. So how do you keep fighting? Better to think a few steps ahead and start those making that record now for those appeals. And of course they're not going to go anywhere. But I mean, she appealed her ridiculous, double jeopardy claim all the way to the Supreme Court. So
Right. What about, do you think she'll bring an ineffective assistance of counsel claim appeal? Because,
Yeah.
Yes.
because of all the clips that were played and
Right.
showing the war room and all that stuff. I mean, I've never seen an attorney do that before. So, that could be an interesting argument right there.
all of the interviews that they not only allowed her, I mean, they can't really disallow, right? They're not.
No, but
her,
what happened behind the scenes? I mean, they were part of it.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Is they engaged in
Yeah.
it. Not only that, but I mean, like showing a visual reenactment of the Commonwealth's theory of the case in your own case in chief.
Oh
Who
God.
the hell
yeah.
thought? I'm still blown. Like it all
Yep.
goes back to Randy for me. And like again, if you go through his opening statement here, Alan Jackson makes a big deal about there were no injuries to his lower body, not his hips, not his legs, and then you
Right.
see that Randy walks away, or not walks away, but spins away with the complete lower half of his torso down, completely unscathed. I don't understand who's making these decisions, man. They haven't, they're not bringing anybody to refute any of the data. They have accepted the data as is because they have to.
Yeah.
It's bad, man. It's bad
That
news.
test example E, that's the one that blew my mind. The one you're speaking of there, Kate. I mean, no quarter panel damage like they anticipated. No damage visible on the lower body. Oh my God, it just spelled it right out. Even right down to Trooper Paul's pirouette, right? I mean, which vindicated him in my opinion too. But yeah, that test example.
Free Trooper Paul. Justice for Trooper Paul here. He
Right?
was. Don't let his
Yep.
poor public speaking get in the way of his brilliant mind. He knew what he was talking about. His work was solid.
That's right.
Trooper Paul was right.
Mhm.
I mean, you want another good clip? Let me tell you. Look, can I show you guys how convincing this was?
Please
Hold
do.
on. Yeah, you know exactly what clip I'm going to play. I got to find it. I think it's in my videos.
Also, there was a comment that came in, and this was, I thought, interesting from Kit Kat, and I think she makes a great point that, and we've talked about this before, but it didn't come into evidence here, about the TV interview with her father, Karen, when he says that she hit something. In other words, if the conspiracy were ever legitimate, even from the beginning, that would have never been said. And people always ask me, what do you think Karen thinks? Which, of course, none of us know. But do we think that she knows the truth? And I always answer absolutely, because on day one, and people forget this, Yannetti in court was arguing, listen, this was just an accident. He loved her. He didn't mean that. And then he also talks about that on the court stairs. They knew exactly what happened. She knows exactly what happened, and she trumped this entire conspiracy up later.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is
Yep.
how convincing Rescue Randy has been. I'm going to play you guys a clip that I got of the number one supporter, Turtle Boy, right? Watching these accident reconstructions. And I want you to listen to what he says.
In good condition, no defects or damage were noted.
Okay. What are we going to expect to see in this video?
So in this video, you'll see in the surveillance video, the Lexus will come from the right to left, strike the Rescue Randy, and then you'll see the Rescue Randy projected and slide on the ground.
Okay.
Rescue Randy. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Can you play that one more time, please?
So again, the Commonwealth is not alleging this happened. So
Oh, sorry. That must have been the short one. Hold on.
No, but that's hilarious.
No. It's worse. It's worse. It's worse.
Yeah, what he
Yeah.
says is very telling.
Yeah, it's worse. I don't know why that one cut off. My bad. Hold on.
You'll find it.
I know. I've got too many. I could if I ran a case, it would be nothing but clips all the time.
There's so
Just
many clips. Yeah,
all,
me too.
all clips all the time.
Yep.
Maybe it's this one that we want. Sorry, I just want to make sure it's the correct one.
Somebody's commenting about how, while you're doing that, Kate, about how thin Karen looks. And I noticed that too. I wondered if anybody else did. Just very, very gaunt right now.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
looks
she's
like
probably
she's
under a
not
tremendous
sleeping.
amount of stress.
Yep.
All right, I found the correct one. Here we go.
All
This
right.
one.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, this is very telling. This one is.
So again, the Commonwealth is not alleging this happened. So this is not a theory that they're alleging. It's just one of those things you got to rule out. But it's crazy to think, man, if John O'Keefe was just a couple inches more inwards, he would have got fucked up.
Say what? That's right.
Right.
You
So-
heard that.
That Rescue Randy, that testy is so effective that even
I
Karen
know.
supporters on a subliminal level are
Yep.
accepting, wow, that's what happened. And if he was just a couple inches more in the road, that full-on impact would have happened, and that would have been terrible. That is like, and I'm saying, like, I don't think that Turtle Boy meant to say that. I don't think that's it. Just obviously slipped out of him, because when you see it visually, it lines up closely enough that your brain just accepts, like, okay, that's what happened. And oh man, look at this full-on hit. It could have been a lot worse, right? So like already, like, it's catastrophic for her defense. I mean, that is, again, her number one supporter, staked his entire life on this, a
Yep.
bunch of criminal charges over it, will literally, I mean, he's lost everything and liable to lose more by the time it's done. And even he subliminally, after seeing those reenactments, accepted in his brain that that's what happened. And had John O'Keefe just been a few inches closer into the road, it would have been a full-on hit. Yeah.
I can't
But-
believe you said that.
Irrelevant, nevertheless, because John is dead.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have mattered whether he got hit full on and died or died as he died.
I don't think the relevancy is in that. Again, I think the relevancy is in that visual representation is so powerful that it does just kind of trigger your brain to accept that that's what happened, even for people who are inclined to not want to accept that.
He might as well have said test example E. You know what I mean? That's the way it happened. That's what the Commonwealth says. I agree with it. But test example F is that, if he was just a few inches over, like, why would you think that if you weren't thinking he was behind the vehicle when it sped backwards? His
Right.
Yeah,
mind
no,
is already
I
placed on there.
agree.
Right.
Yeah, like, what a
Sort of-
dummy say.
His consciousness of guilt.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable what a terrible decision, at least in my opinion, it was to bring ARCA in with that new testing.
Oof.
Honestly, I think Hank Brennan had handed them a gift when he said, you know what, I want to just stick to the old opinions, because the old opinions were far enough away from investigating what could have happened, and far enough away from what a side swipe would actually look like, or anything of any value, that they could have just argued theoretically that the damage doesn't match striking an arm or striking a head. They don't have to show anything, and they could have just gone with their little potato cannon glass thing, and that's probably the most impact they would have been able to get, because once you start veering into the territory of what it would actually look like, it's not far enough away from what it did look like to do what they're trying to do. It does the complete opposite.
They ask for you to play that again, some people in chat, since it's
Yeah.
short, you may want to. I think
Okay,
some
hold on.
might have missed it.
I think you should because it's quite good.
It is. It is. It's telling, man. But yeah, Arca proved that the tail light absolutely can be damaged to the point that we see it on Karen's Lexus. They've been saying for forever, you can't break a tail light with an arm. Are you crazy? Well, thanks, Arca.
Yeah,
And
All right,
showed
so
you
I'll
could.
play it one more time.
absolutely.
Put it one more time, please.
So again, the Commonwealth is not alleging this happened. So this is not a theory that they're alleging. It's just one of those things you got to rule out. But it's crazy to think, man, if John O'Keefe was just a couple inches more inwards, he would have got fucked up.
Oof.
Mm.
Just
Gosh,
like
that's so impactful.
A lot of mercy.
And again, I am so just so we're clear here, that is not like I'm not even taking any sort of swipe at Turtle Boy's credibility or anything like that, or his allegiance to Karen Reed. I fully recognize that his intention in going over these and discussing them was not to reinforce the idea that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. That's very much opposed to what he's interested in, right? Like
Yeah.
but even with that strong bias, he couldn't help but lapse into that language and say out loud, wow, it's crazy if he was just a few more inches in. That, you know, so just in seeing those reenactments, his brain is placing John O'Keefe at the scene and placing him with that side swipe, you know, inches away from a full-on hit. And that's because the result of that testee, that side swipe with the rescue Randy, it's not going to be super precise. It's not going to necessarily reflect exactly what happened. You know, we know that Rescue Randy is not good, especially at assessing injuries, because of the difference between him and a human body. That's not what he's intended for. However, just the actual mechanics of that side swipe and where the damage occurs and how it occurs is very, very close to what happened to John O'Keefe. So I don't understand why they did that.
Agree.
All right. Well, do we have anything else? Any more thoughts?
Nice discussion, as
Yeah.
always.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's always great to have Jen and you, Margaret, and Boomer. As always, we lost Kevin here. Hopefully, he's getting some rest. And thanks for Boundless Millennial showing up as well.
I'm worried Matt left after I gave him the business over his little icon. He like, burp. Maybe he's changing it. We miss you, Matt. You keep us laughing.
I would like to just say real quick, I put up a YouTube channel, and I'm real thankful for those that subscribe today. That's very cool. I didn't expect to get 5, so it's very lovely.
Can I subscribe?
What I wanted to say, I'll throw it out in the back here for you. But I just wanted to say, as a caveat, because I try my best to behave whilst I'm here on Kevin's stream. I don't know if you guys are going to dig what I do on mine. I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I hope you stay with me, but I forgive you if you don't. So that said, I'll grab that link for you.
Oh, I'll definitely subscribe.
I will.
I just
too.
started my YouTube channel too in January, and it's hard to get subscribers at first. You know?
Yeah.
But
You know,
then
it's
you just got to
like
put out content.
you ride a wave, and if you're lucky, you catch more than one wave, and that's where your growth is, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just such a, and like I've said this a lot, but I'm not a true crime person. I find true crime to be an extremely competitive market, especially on YouTube and like TikTok and stuff like that. And unfortunately, the more unscrupulous people usually win in terms of getting all that subscriber count because they're doing provocative things to get attention.
Right.
Right.
And I'm just trying to put out good content. That's all.
That's all.
I'm like you, Margaret, and you know, certainly I haven't grown as I might have hoped, but I'm going to be true to being honest and bringing facts and amazing guests, and I think that will carry the day someday, hopefully.
Of course.
Oh,
Way
absolutely.
to do it.
Absolutely.
And Boomer, I can't wait to hear your stuff. And Kate, the thing I love about Kate is she doesn't censor anyone.
Right.
She's so funny. I mean, these people are calling her every name in the book. It's like, bam. And she just doesn't care. It's so great.
Yeah, they don't bother me. I like to let people talk. You know, I don't
Yeah.
really like when it's done to other people, but I put myself out here. I am a lightning rod. I've chosen to be one, so I take whatever comes my way. It's only fair.
That's great.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you. This has been great. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right, we'll see you
Alrighty.
tomorrow, guys.
All right.
Wonderful.
Have a gooder.